o'clock.
Nice job, Zarvox.
Thanks, Zarvox. You hit it right on the Zarvox.
Like they say, archives. Them archives. It's kind of like them ducks. I always love
them
that.
MR ducks.
MR ducks. MNRO ducks, and then it goes SYM ducks, and it's a great duck thing. But chives and archives are a little different.
Just like organs and pianos.
Yeah.
Just a little bit different.
Keyboards. I brought in my guitar of science today.
Like guitars and banjos, just a little bit different.
Well, yeah.
One you like, the other you hate.
Here's my little bit of science here for you.
Boom, 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 boom.
Did you hear that? That was.
Oh, I got that.
Oh, good morning, Robert Strong.
Good morning, Richard Pollack. Hey, it is Radio Science News, and we are both in the same place at the same time.
And we are unmasked.
We are unmasked, yes. Only because you have had your 2 shots for now
That's
what?
Right. More than a month.
More than a month, and I have had my 2 shots for more than a month.
We will be talking about that as one of our important stories today because, again, I even talked to my I have a son-in-law. I mean, not everybody has a son-in-law that is a microbiologist.
Not everyone does.
But I have a son-in-law who loved college so much
that he stayed.
he got his PhD in microbiology, and then because there were some opportunities with the lab, he continued working at the lab and then getting his PhD in pharmacy. So
he has 2 foods.
He does have both of those. And the thing is, we were having our discussion about the new masking things. We'll talk about that.
Well, if you're going to get some good information on masks, it's probably from somebody with 2 foods. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
And the other thing.
Wow.
Listen, I tell you, Robert and Libby and I have been sitting here talking before the show starts about we lost such a great friend.
Yes, we did.
Michael Iafredi.
Excellent.
It was always tough to pronounce his name. At first I thought it was my wife saw it written. She thought it was Jeffrey because it looked like, is that an I or a J?
Yeah, a J.
And some people just called him Iafredi. But then I remember this may be on his Facebook page where the right way to pronounce it is there's like that little Iafredi. Because it says, I afraid of no ghosts. I afraid. So
I afraid.
I mean, just knowing Michael brought joy to everybody.
Oh, he certainly did.
And
what a fabulous human being.
We've lost him, and he was just a young 40-something wonderful person, wonderful father, wonderful science, wonderful musician, wonderful writer.
Could talk about anything.
He was a great. The thing that I was so fascinated was we were such fan. Since I'm into music, I even brought my guitar of science here today because I was going to do a little science in honor of Michael Iafredi. He did a wonderful. One of his favorite songs. It was one that I shared as a favorite song. Was "In the clearing stands a boxer, a fighter by his trade, and he carries a reminder of every glove that laid him out or cut him till he cried out in his anger and his shame, I am leaving, but the fighter still remains." And that's the truth.
Yes.
You still remain. The thing I liked about that song, and we were joking about it one time, is that the guitar is like a laboratory. It's like a science laboratory. Some people would say, "Oh yeah, you mean better than a banjo?" And I would go, "Well." But one of the cool things about like the ending of that song where it goes into the big lie-de-lie.
Yeah, love that part.
Now, the very ending was a thing that would go like this. And those things are cool things called overtones on guitar.
Yeah.
And when Robert and I and Libby would maybe do a thing about the physics of music, we talk about guitars and strings and things. One of the cool things about a guitar is if you are a guitar player and you know that it has, if you like look at your guitar, it has 12 frets. Like I'm going to play like the D and the G and the B string. That's just the open strings. But if I put my fingers over the 12th fret, which is 1/2 of the string, and just as I pluck it, I kill that big vibrating fundamental, I get overtones.
Yeah.
Now, it turns out you can also get overtones at the 5th fret and the 7th fret, which is a different chord. But the thing that I really like about a guitar, if you have the overtones and you move the guitar relative to to the sound, the person listening, you have the really cool thing called Doppler effect. So if I do the overtones and then move my guitar, you get all the you get what's called the Doppler effect. But anyway, I always want to remember, Michael as being a joyful science musician.
Boy, he certainly was. He was
so
awesome.
Much to so many of us here in the Wheeling area, and we will miss him.
Yes. With a tear in our eye and a catch in our throat. Yeah.
So anyway,
wonderful guy.
Let's jump into the today's crazy science.
Hey, you're listening to Radio Science News. This is episode number 785 in a series. As you prime number fans out there know, any number that ends in a 5 that is not 5 is not a prime number. The factors are 5 and 157. So if you're into 157. Again, May 15th, 2021. I want to just give a shout out to all you Martians out there and all vehicles in orbit, roving, and landing on the planet Mars.
We're going to be talking about
We're going to do that. Today is the 8th anniversary of Radio Science News in the Martian arena, meaning that Mars has gone around the sun 8 times. It's the 8th birthday on Mars for Radio Science News as of today. And if you remember, just a few weeks ago, on April the 24th, I think they're landing, it was the 15th anniversary on the Earth. So, you can obviously tell that it takes a lot longer for the Martians to get older than for Earthers.
They age well, though.
They do age well, and they're so green.
All right, so for full disclosure, this is my favorite little app for kids. It's called
for kids of all ages.
All ages. It's called Beebot. If you have a little kid and you want to keep him busy, you put Beebot on your phone.
Beebot.
It's a little singing robot that actually it's the total analog sound. I mean, it's the theremin sound that is so important to all our worlds.
Oh, that was a good one. I liked that one.
Get out of here, Beebot. Robots everywhere I look.
So, hey, be nice. They are going to be the.
They are. They're
overlords, and we need to be good to them.
They'll be taking care of us at the restaurant.
They will certainly take really good care of us.
Well, in fact, I think the Japanese use a lot of robots in their retirement homes and things, and I think that's perfectly fine. I guess, right?
Until they aren't.
Until they aren't nice.
Hey, so let's take you to the launch pad of science. If you go to your internet and if you are driving a car and you have one of those that can drive itself, you can push that button so that you're not slamming into a telephone pole. If you go to www.smartcenter.org, that takes you to my favorite webpage on the internets. And if you look down here just a little bit, you'll see the words Radio Science News just above the little trifecta rainbow there. And I'm going to click on Radio Science News and up pops the launch pad of science. I just want to mention, we do this every now and then, that these are live links that have been first put down here since Saturday, April 15th, 2006. Many of these are still live, and they have been checked so that your kids can use them and your grandparents can use them, and they aren't going to roll their eyes at you like, well, why did you get me into this? To this weird porn site. These are not those. These are all looked at and they're very good. So I'm looking. We've got on the far. They are bona fide. Yes. We've got unmasking. Breakthrough the Seychelles. I've never been to the Seychelles, but I understand that it's a beautiful.
It is.
Group of islands. And
Soberana.
And then Faraday with a question mark, and then Einstein letter. Then Colonial Pipe. I guess that's the Colonial Pipeline.
I took the line out because I thought, I was trying to shorten it up so things could go through faster.
Yeah, at 5 miles an hour. I just want to say I hope that we that we talk about this because some people need to be called out.
We're going to talk about the
Yeah, I just found out some interesting information from Richard just before we started that just made my jaw drop.
I could have just shortened it even more and just call it the colon pipe. Because of the management there. I'm just, okay, you're wrong.
Thank you for going on. Solar Wind, Neuralink.
Neuralink. Do you know who owns Neuralink?
No, I do not.
I was fascinated by this company. Then I turned out, oh my God, it's another Elon Musk company.
Oh, gee. Oh, yes, I do. I did know that. I just tried to erase my brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nanocrystal,
cell death, and of course there's a chart.
You know what? I'm going to say, we could, just for fun, because we usually go to the chart at the end, and we want to talk about all things important. But let's get this. I'd like to cleanse my palate. The chart is actually, Robert.
Let's do that,
because we're going to go to that Colonial Pipeline. Now, when you click on your thing, what happens when you click on? Do you get a thing that says?
I get www.coalpipe.com. Right. Additional security check is required.
First, stop right there.
I am not a robot.
First, stop right there. So here's what, and it says, why am I seeing this page?
Why am I seeing this page?
According to, this is probably to scare off anybody who would try to hack them. It says that this website is protected and accelerated by Encapsula. Your computer may have been affected by malware and therefore flagged by the network. And it displays this, but I'm thinking, how can I beat this? What do I have to do, Robert?
You just click on where it says I'm not a robot.
But what if I'm lying? Does it make a difference?
No, because we all know that robots don't lie.
There you go.
Wait. If robots don't, okay. I'm not sure.
So the big deal is, literally, I was surprised and I almost chuckled a little bit that the Colonial Pipeline had this separate step in security that won't let anybody look at their map until they prove that they're not a robot.
So wait. So
this is the map of
you can't tell me that you can't make a piece of software that can look at a page, find the words "I'm not a robot," find the box, and click the box.
I think you could do that.
I think with an Apple IIe you could do that.
Well, there you go.
Come on.
For people who even know what that is, Robert. So here's the map. I was thinking, man, first of all...
Okay, so I am not a robot. I am going to click that, and let's see what happens.
So you get a map
It says, we are erasing your hard drive.
No. It does not. It says in very friendly, text, Colonial Pipeline Company connects... Now, I want you to pay attention
refineries.
to this. This is important. It connects refineries with customers and markets throughout southern and eastern United States through a pipeline system that spans more than 5,500 miles. That number might be good. That 5,500.
I need to do this. Okay.
And it says
5,500.
between Houston, Texas, and Linden, New Jersey. Now, first of all, as I wasn't an English major, Robert, but I did speak English when I was in college.
You did.
Now, did you notice that the implication is that all of the gas is down there somewhere in Texas?
Texas, it all comes from Texas.
But
somewhere around
you
Houston.
and I both commented on the fact that it's also connected to Linden. Did you know that there are lots of refineries in Linden, New Jersey, too?
I
right?
do indeed. I have seen them.
I have smelled them.
I have lots of friends that lived in New Jersey when I was in college, and I went to go see them.
So
and was amazed when they went, "It's the Garden State," and I went, "No, it's the oil refinery state."
Well, yeah.
That's what they say when it's convenient.
Boy, that's for sure. Now, but the thing is, a pipeline as an electrical grid, or even we talked about the gas grid, the idea of having a gas grid. It isn't simply that something goes into one end and then works its way all the way to the other end. Because if you're connecting refineries and things along, part of what you do is refineries in New Jersey probably add stuff right there too, right?
So,
but the important thing is, Robert, just like any colonial things,
colonoscopy. What?
If things aren't moving, that's bad, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so we're gonna after we look at this chart, and we've pretty much absorbed everything about this chart.
Yeah.
For example, I've absorbed that even though West Virginia I think West Virginia had like 7% of their gas stations had no gas. They're not connected.
And
to
yet
this.
we're not connected to the pipeline, are we?
I don't
In fact,
understand.
the
It's
entire
confusing.
state of West Virginia is not
It's
connected to the
confusing.
pipeline.
But anyway, so there's the
So
pipeline.
wait. So are you saying that there was a gas shortage
It's 11:15.
in West Virginia that was not associated with the
Yeah, I
pipeline
guess so.
during the shortage of the pipeline, supposedly because there was a run on the
Well,
gasoline?
that's partly because, as you know, people, if they had any room left in their like a storage shed that wasn't filled with toilet paper,
Right.
They were
going to fill it with
maybe even plastic
with
bags.
plastic bags of gasoline. Yes.
Which I saw on the news. I know that's a terrible thing, but I saw that.
Don't smoke in the shed.
Oh my gosh!
Hey, I just want to say that that being that this pipeline is 5,500 miles
I
long.
wanted you to do a little math.
Okay, I'm all set.
because you told me that you heard on the news.
That the
Flow rate,
that
the
the
flow
flow rate, the speed of gasoline through the pipeline, is about 5 miles an hour. So
Okay, well, I just wanted to buy 5 gallons gas for my lawnmower.
Okay.
If they started shipping it in Texas today,
right,
when
it's
will
going to take 1,100 hours. If you divide that by 24, so we get days, that's 45.83 days. If you divide that by 7, you get 6.5 weeks.
Okay.
Weeks.
See, and I'm just saying that doesn't seem real.
I'm just going to say this one more time. To go from the beginning of the pipeline somewhere around Houston, Texas, all the way to Linden, New Jersey.
And the Jersey
would,
guy.
Where's
my gas, man? Give me my gas.
would take 6.5 weeks. Now,
Oh, geez.
at 5 miles an hour, you could probably get on your 3-wheel vehicle and you could tricycle it up there
okay.
faster.
You know, it sounds like, Robert, we're kind of.
So obviously, whomever shut the pipeline down knew what they were doing.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you another science question because first of all, this thing didn't get emptied out, right? It was not flowing, right?
No.
But now this is a little bit like electrons or electricity. If I'm down in Texas and I shove in 5 gallons of
Gasoline.
gas, and
5 gallons is going to come out the other end.
so it doesn't have to. So that I kept thinking, why are we getting the sense that you people need to really
pressure is pressure.
Well, yeah, and the thought was that people said, oh, well, the pipeline's already started back up, which was nice. It started up like after being shut down for a week, and we're going to get to that in a second.
A weekish, yeah.
But the idea was they wanted you to know that as you look around your community, and you and I talked about our neighborhood. My neighborhood, before this all happened, the local station was $2.69 a gallon. When I just drove past it this morning, because everybody, I mean, you've heard this on the news. We've been really upset about this.
It's been horrible.
$2.99 a gallon. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you as a math person. So that's
Yes.
like what? Like 30 cents more a gallon?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I bought 10 gallons of gas, that means that I have suffered for just one purchase maybe $3, right?
Yep.
Okay. And I'm like if you're an average family, depending on what you would consider an average family, in the United States, some people are a single person family, some people are a couple, some are a retired couple, some have several kids. But of the 330 million people,
half of them or so are going to be affected by this.
well,
right?
but what I've noticed, Robert, is that the price of gas went up everywhere, not just where the pipeline was.
But why is that?
Well, I don't know. I think it's a Madison Avenue thing.
Oh,
But I want
okay.
you to stick with me on the math
Okay,
thing because
gotcha.
let's
Okay.
say let's be generous and say that of the 330 plus million people, maybe if you aggregated them into an average family of let's say 3,
Okay.
so that means that 100 million families would be affected.
Right.
And if they're like my family and they just for this one purpose, they had to pay an extra $3 because of sort of a fake, supply demand, bump in the gas price. $3 for me, and the other 100 million. So 100 million times 3 is what? What do you get on your calculator?
$330 million.
Wow.
So wait. So when they had the pipeline shut down,
Yeah.
and then they paid supposedly somebody $5 million to get it turned
That's the
back
part
on.
I wanted you to do. Like the part that I couldn't do
Okay.
was the subtraction. Where you
Oh,
had,
okay.
I was going to be generous and say only 100 million. So let's
Okay.
call it 300 million.
330 million.
Yeah.
And then you subtract 5 million, that's $325 million. So the people made a surplus of $325 million during the disaster.
Eureka! Oh my goodness!
Wow.
Okay. Well, I could be
What
wrong.
in a week.
I could be wrong because
So wait. So I'm going to subtract the 5 million from that.
so the gas price isn't going to go down because it's going to take a while. What,
Right.
like 5 miles per hour.
So let's say that they could have that extend for, I don't know,
You mean like create the illusion that there's a shortage of
that
gas?
there's a shortage of gas?
But seriously, I found that amazing. It's
So-
5 million is like I hate to use this
A
sounds like
drop
a pun.
in the bucket.
Drop in the bucket.
A drop in the pipeline?
All right, now listen, time out. I
Okay,
think
I'm sorry.
we've been unkind to the colon pipeline.
The colon people? No, I don't think we have.
Let's go back to the actual story. In the middle on Radio Science News, the actual story that I put up is about the Colonial Pipeline, and I'm going to think maybe they clarify.
Okay, so we are going to go about to the middle, slightly to the right,
Yeah,
where it
there
says
it is.
Colonial Pipe.
Sorry, out of service. The shutdown of Colonial triggered a cascading crisis that led to a jump in prices and panic buying, and that was across the country, by Nicole Perloff, and she's talking about it. But there's a couple things that the Colonial Pipeline paid its extortionists roughly 75 Bitcoin. See, now I understand why Bitcoin is so valuable. You can threaten people and blackmail them, and there's no way to track who you are. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, anyway, there's a lot more. I don't want to
Roughly
spend.
$5 million to hackers.
Yeah.
So you pay $5 million to the hackers, you make $325 million, and the hackers are happy, and you're happy, and everybody but the people at the pump are happy.
Yeah. Well,
Isn't that interesting?
and of course we're happy because it's such a great story.
Oh, it's a fabulous story.
It's,
It certainly
instructive.
makes me happy.
Yeah.
It says the shutdown of the Colonial Pipeline triggered a cascading crisis that led to a jump in gas prices and panic buying at gas pumps. So wait.
I get to stop you here, Robert. You said something in this story because when I heard this story, I was thinking that was so terrible that the hackers
shut the pipeline down. Well, every news item that I saw either said that word for word or insinuated
Oh,
it.
it was. Now here's the part, because this sentence, like again, I said I was not an English major, but I did speak English in college. It says the shutdown of the network, and then they go on from there, right?
Right.
Well, the thing that I heard that I actually said to you today and caused your jaw to drop to the table was that the reason why the pipeline was shut down was not because hackers physically were able to control the pumps and the valves or anything through some complex system. It was because the actual, according to the story I heard, and I'm hoping I'm wrong because this is even worse, that the actual hack was to the billing department of Colonial Pipeline.
Well, in fact, it says right here
is it
in
further
the
down?
second paragraph,
let
it
me
says
go.
the payment came after hackers last week held up Colonial Pipeline's business networks.
There it is.
Business networks, not the pipeline, with ransomware, a form of malware that encrypts data until the victim pays and threatens to release it online. Colonial Pipeline preemptively shut down its pipeline operations to keep the ransomware from spreading, and because it had
that makes
no
sense.
way to bill customers with its business and accounting networks offline.
Well, listen, to be kind, I'm going to
So
say
they
were.
whoa.
That was
So-
smart to shut it down.
So they shut down the gasoline. Everyone went panic buying. Oh yeah, like nobody knew that was coming after the toilet paper thing.
Let's not be cynical.
I'm being cynical. So the people at Colonial Pipeline shut their own pipeline
They
down.
did. It was
It
kind of
was
like
not the malware people.
they stepped up. They said, "Be a
They
man,
stepped
shut
up
it down
and they
yourself."
shut it down.
I'm going to shut me down.
Shut me down.
I want to shut my mouth. Well, okay. So
Only because they were afraid that the people they were selling the gasoline to wouldn't pay them back.
as if there wouldn't be.
Oh, come on.
Okay, and now here's
This is 2021.
well, and I'm saying you could call on a cell phone. Okay, but here's what I want to say. We have spent way too much time on this story, and it's sad that we that we've gone off on this track.
No,
I apologize.
I think we've spent about enough time, and the reason is that the reason that we are in the position we are is stupid things like this are just
happen all the
taken
time,
for
yeah.
granted.
They you know what? It's kind of like they go viral.
Oh, COVID.
Okay, so here's the last thing. Here's the last thing I want to say to you before we jump into our other, hopefully more important stories. So I'm going to say, if all of a sudden you knew you had this, you were infected, your systems were infected,
Sure.
it would not be a bad idea to say, quick, everybody lock your doors so the poison gas doesn't get it. I mean, shutting down their system that's okay. I give them credit for doing that because they didn't want it to spread any further, even though, as you know, the speed of electron through your system is pretty fast. You're not going to be able to outrun it.
No.
But, okay, they literally kept this pipeline shut down for like 8 days.
Yeah.
Now,
For almost a week.
I'm going to say that if you actually, and the story has basically come out that their biggest fear was that because they didn't have their accounting software, they would be delivering gas to people and they wouldn't know, they couldn't trust people, or they wouldn't be sure they were paid for it, as if there was no other way to track it.
Right.
Or as if within I'm going to say, hey, 24 hours, couldn't you set up some alternative system of billing or something? Or just set up a whole new system.
Exactly. Or say, hey, people whose job it is that we pay you, you certainly have this entire system online and you're backing it up every hour on the hour, right? We want the hour before this happened. And we want you to turn everything off,
you're being so
turn everything back on, reinstall the software, and in 20 minutes you're up and running.
You're being so
8 days later, they're like, what do we do?
And all I'm going to say
Come on.
I'm going to say 8 days later, I'm going, well, my gas in my neighborhood went from $2.69 to $2.99.
And we're not a part of the pipeline.
And we're not. How do we get
somebody
to
made a lot of money on this.
Oh,
and you can't tell me that it was a mistake.
Well, there were some mistakes, but I don't even want to say what they are.
I'm not even sure that there was any malware here. I mean, let's be honest.
Listen, I'm just thinking that the people who did this are probably going. Somebody said it was like the dog that caught the car. Because
the huge truck.
Because the entire Homeland Security and cyber people.
Oh, they are after these guys.
They're like they've got the electrons colored and matched, and they're on your way. So okay, let's get back to the stories that I actually thought we could cover as science today. Until this, the colon pipeline.
The colon pipeline.
It's just too important. All right, so the big news for everybody, including
the unmasking.
The unmasking, or as we would say in West Virginia, the denouement, because we speak French here in the hills.
Bien sûr.
Yeah, denouement.
Bien sûr, y'all.
Now the thing is, there has been people. This is an article that we're not going to go through all this because you need to do this in your own good time. Because they're saying they were confused by CDC's latest.
Confused? That yeah.
Well, but only because it was almost like it's like when you get good news or something. Like like you go to if you go to the gas station, you pay too much for your gas, but you said, well, I'm going to buy a $1 lottery ticket, and it turns out that you lost that money in your gas, but that you won $5. You would go, I can't believe this. This is just too much to believe. The thing, just to clear that, there's a lot of stuff going back and forth, and I'm always a little bit surprised when people say they are confused. It is not really that confusing, and I'm going to read through this article, to get some more maybe nuance or some particulars. But having talked to, as I said, I talked to my son-in-law he's in on this because he's also he has some health things that mean he's a little more at risk than some people. So he's very, very careful about it. The big news is that if you have been vaccinated, and I think President Biden put it very clearly, that means that you've had both your vaccines and you have waited the period of time for the antibodies to build up. Basically, that it boils down to you are pretty well protected because they're finding that the efficacy of the vaccines has been so good that you can basically be in almost any situation. I mean, short of being at like a worldwide federation of wrestling thing where people are coughing and spitting in your face and stuff, you are okay to be unmasked with other people who have been fully vaccinated.
other people who have been fully
that's-
vaccinated. So it
that's
says
key
here,
thing.
fully vaccinated people can resume activities without wearing a mask or physically distancing, except where required by federal law, state, local, tribal, or territorial
Yeah.
laws, rules, and regulations, including local businesses and workplace guidance. Now, that's perfectly fine, okay? But as of today, this morning on CNN News, I saw that in the United States, 36.2...
It's 11:30.
Thank you, Starbucks. 36.2% of us have been fully vaccinated.
Right. That's not herd immunity.
No,
by any
that's not
stretch.
herd immunity by almost 2 times. So if that's true, then 1/3 of us can be out wandering around without our masks, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But when I'm looking out the window now, nobody has on a mask. So explain that one to me. It's like everyone goes, I got fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
Whoa. No, just over 1/3 of all people have been fully vaccinated, and yet everyone's saying that they were. The math doesn't work.
there is an
You
honesty
can't.
thing.
Yeah, and
even-
and I'm
And you are honest.
honestly saying that it's not working.
Well, but here's the important. I mean, again, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of issues because like people go, well, children aren't completely vaccinated, and there are people who aren't wearing masks, and you don't know if they've been. But
You don't know.
But the thing that you have to understand is that and this is part of the incentive for getting vaccinated, is that if you are fully vaccinated, you are the two takeaways that I think are most important. You are protected.
Yes.
That in fact, my son-in-law was saying that the vaccine is so effective that if you in fact inhaled a whole bunch of COVID virus, that your body will basically eliminate it in say like 15 minutes.
Wow.
And you don't. And the important part is you don't
Exhale
have
it.
any to shed.
Right.
So the thing is, if you are fully vaccinated, you are protected. But the most important other part was, if you were fully vaccinated and somehow you thought maybe you were going to catch it, as there have been breakthroughs. That's one of our stories we're going to cover today, is breakthrough cases. The other part of it is, it appears from the best data right now is that you do not shed virus. So you will not pass it along. Like one of the things we've
wonderful
always
news.
worried about is, well, if I have a relative that isn't vaccinated for whatever reason, or children that aren't vaccinated, and I'm exposed somewhere, and is there any chance I can then and it basically is, no, you are good going both ways, either catching it or passing along. So again, read through this. The other thing that's also important to remember is that you don't know what the people's reasons. Like some people who are more immune compromised will continue to wear
Certainly.
masks. I remember how it was when the entire population of Japan, no matter what was going on, coughs or flu, they would wear a mask, and people thought it was a little odd. But,
All the time.
But it works for them. So
Yes, it does.
So the best thing is to take care of it, get yourself vaccinated, so you can get back out and do all the things that you hope to do, and also to protect you from the issues and to make sure you don't pass it along. Now, the next story, it relates to that. We'll kind of go through these COVID stories quickly because we spent too much time on the Colonial Pipeline.
I know.
And I mean,
Colonial Pipeline.
wait a minute, Colonial.
I think that was the correct the first time.
Well, the word, when you put IAL, like I said, I wasn't an English major, but when you put IAL at the end, it means sort of like.
Sort of like
So
a colon.
I'm going to say that.
And yes,
That's
pretty much.
pretty much covers
And
the
what comes out of it.
breakthrough. So one of the big stories was that there are, well, they talk about the New York Yankees, and then it's celebrities they're mostly talking about. It says, do breakthrough COVID-19 infections seen in the Yankees and Vilmar mean vaccinated people should still wear masks? And this goes through and covers a lot of this again. But the basic bottom line on this is that the folks, like I know the whole Yankees thing, they were like pretty much totally asymptomatic. It was just because they're doing the due diligence of extensive testing. And so they're saying that basically, here it is, most of these cases are asymptomatic, which suggests that vaccines are doing their jobs, and they reduce the severity of the illness if you do get reinfected, as well as lowering the risk of spreading it to others. So again, these are still within parameters. When people said, oh my gosh, how can you possibly get infected? We're looking at, like, of course, we're talking about celebrities here, and there are little groups here and there. A vaccine that would be 99% effective over 1 million people means that 1% are still going to get it.
Right.
So, nothing is like absolutely perfect but the numbers are still very much in your favor.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to say, goes down. Oh, it talks about. I'm looking down that talks about the Pfizer. Why do breakthrough infections still? It says even though the COVID-19 vaccines from. These are giving stock ticker. I thought these were percentages. Isn't that weird that they're just talking? Isn't it interesting, Robert, that we're finding out that the three major vaccines are big stock ticker things? Okay.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
It basically, their point is that they have high efficacy rates, but no vaccine is 100% perfect. So, when you're talking about little numbers, like a small percentage, that can be a lot.
Yeah.
When you're, what are we over? Like 100, in the United States, we have 100 million people that are fully vaccinated at this point. So
it says, how common are breakthrough COVID-19 cases? It says breakthrough cases are rare. As of April 26, 2021, more than 95 million Americans have been fully vaccinated against COVID. And of that 95 million, 9,245 breakthrough infections. Wow.
Yeah.
So, that's 1 out of 10,000 infections were reported to the CDC. Among the breakthrough cases, 27% were asymptomatic, 9% went to the hospital, and 1% died. So that's 1% of 1/10,000th.
Yeah.
So 1/1,000,000th of the people that get the vaccine die.
Yeah, it's an issue. But it was a big story. Now, the thing is,
Wow.
I do know that if it's celebrities or sports figures, it's much more important.
Well, it always is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, here's another story that's a little, I don't want to say, again, the reason why there's confusion is because you get all these different things from different areas. And I'm saying that it shouldn't be, you should try to boil it down to this: get your vaccine. But this story from the Seychelles is really interesting because the Seychelles, it's a small population.
Yes,
Robert.
a very small population.
It is literally the world's most vaccinated nation. And yet it's got a spike in cases. Now, there's some interesting things in this story that I didn't expect when I first clicked on it. It says the tiny island nation of the Seychelles has a population of just a little over 100,000 and has a surge of coronavirus. And it's reimposing a lockdown. And that's why it was such an interesting story. And they go through and they talk about it. Well, one of the things I was fascinated was I got to a couple paragraphs down. Basically, the Seychelles got most of their vaccine from the Chinese pharmaceutical company Sinopharm. And it says China expected its Sinopharm vaccines to be the linchpin of the country's vaccine diplomacy program. Realizing that, this is what we're doing in the world today. We're going to use our vaccines to try to influence people politically because it's easily transported and all that. But it said they donated $13.3 million to other countries, and the Seychelles is one of these places, I think. But I think that the real issue is they think that the Sinopharm, which was supposed to have an efficacy that was, it says here, the AstraZeneca was the other one. They've had some issues. It said Dr. Mulholland said the initial reports from the Seychelles basically shows that they have a 50% efficacy rate, not the 78.1
Isn't that interesting?
China had
I wonder
touted.
why. Maybe they have some other kind of strain, or maybe the information that they got was not quite right.
Well, and so the things that jumped out at me quickly at first were, okay, so maybe they're saying that, it is kind of sad that the initial, and this is the bottom line of the story, or close to the bottom line, is to imply that, once again, somebody's lying to you and it happens to be,
somebody else.
It's a little bit of, I don't want to say Asian bashing, but there's that implication right up front. When in fact, am I correct in saying that the Seychelles are somewhat close to where the African variant might have been incurred? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we don't know all the story here, and hopefully we'll get more. But there's just a lot happening in this world. And I'm going to say again, it boils down to, if I can give you one piece of advice, I feel like I'm repeating Joe Biden's speech. Get vaccinated.
Yes.
Get it done. Another quick thing. We'll just talk quickly about. We have mentioned how Cuba has done so many things medically that seem to be forward-looking, and I had not heard that their vaccine, which I think the word is somewhere in the story says soberana is Spanish for sovereign, and they named it that because they've kind of been squeezed out of everything else, and the point is they have to create their own vaccine with they're not insignificant medical. They have a really good infrastructure for medical. So it says Soberana 2 entered phase 3 trials in March, and it has another one called Abdallah, and they're entering their trials. And the reason why this one is it goes on to talk about other stuff. Here it is. Even Soberana 02 has an independent streak working differently from other vaccines in play. So I thought this was a fascinating part of the story.
It's a conjugate vaccine, one that links a weaker antigen with a stronger one to ensure a vigorous immune response. That's a neat way to do it.
Yeah, so go read on there. It says...
Soberana 2, Finlay scientists coupled fragments of the coronavirus spike protein to a deactivated form of tetanus toxin, a powerful antigen that can boost production of immune cells and antibodies.
So they in being a conjugate, they weren't just going to count on, and that's an interesting thing because, in your system, this new coronavirus is something really new.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you would form a response because you're going, hey, somebody just broke through the wall.
Something weird here.
We're going to form a response. But what they did was the whole like tetanus is this particular deactivated tetanus toxin really lights up your system.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the guy at the door goes, I think I'm going to lock the door. And then the other guy goes, I'm calling the cops.
Right.
I'm going to say
what
it's
a
a really
brilliant
smart
idea.
little thing there, yeah.
That's brilliant.
So hopefully, if March was when they began their thing, again, this will be another one that hopefully will be out there to help protect the world. And this little strategy that they used is something that, the mRNA is such a new concept, and it has speed and efficacy and all sorts of other things, but this concept of just basically using something else that is known to really light up your immune system and your antibodies.
Wow, that is a really sharp idea.
Yeah.
I am very impressed. Nicely done, Cuba.
Now, this next story, I just have this here because
Faraday?
there's a piece of science in it.
Okay.
I want you to ignore everything else about this story, Robert, except the science, because I have a science question for you. It says Faraday.
Can Cyrus Vance Jr. nail Trump?
Now, see, I don't care about that
I'm not sure
part.
what that means.
The only thing about the important, I wanted people to know that Cyrus Vance Sr. was from Bridgeport, West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Because I used to drive under the bridge, and it would say home of Cyrus Vance, and I used to think,
oh, I've seen that sign. Sure,
it's right. Yeah, it's just right under
Okay.
this. So anyway, Cyrus Vance Jr. Apparently, he's like some kind of a law enforcement guy, right?
Obviously.
Okay, and there's a picture. I mean, he looks stern.
He is a stern
He's got
looking
his
dude.
tie.
He is like, I am going to nail you. What?
It says he's famous for being a low-key prosecutor, but he's in this. So, okay, there's a bunch of other stuff, and I'm just going to give you some key things, and then I'm going to get you down to the paragraph. Apparently, Robert, there was a hard drive that has like, I don't know, millions of gigabytes of...
Millions of gigabytes.
Well, I don't know how many it has exactly. Let's just say, how about if I just say with 1 gigabyte?
Okay.
But it has like tax returns and all kinds of stuff that may be important in a trial, right?
Yeah.
And okay, Cyrus Vance is okay. And it says here, if the tax records, major revelations, this could all be a big deal. But the part of the story that I thought was cool, when I heard it I said, I have to ask Robert about this. A spokesman for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office declined to confirm where they've taken this hard drive.
Whereabouts.
But people familiar...
It's in protected custody.
Well, but it's better than that because it says, but people familiar with the office presume... Now, before I get to this next part, I'm thinking, so apparently this could be so important to somebody that they would, I don't know what, an electromagnetic pulse bomb, anything to wipe out this hard drive, right? It said that it has been secured, and this is the part that caught my ear, a radio frequency isolation chamber. And it's in the Louis Lefkowitz State Office Building on Center Street. Well, let's just give them an address so you
Okay,
can get
yeah, right.
Now go ahead and read the next
It
part.
says the chamber is protected by a double set of metal doors, the kind used in bank vaults, and its walls are lined with what looks like glimmering copper foil. So it's a Faraday cage.
So am I correct when I
Yes,
said
you
that
are.
was my question
To
mark.
block remote attempts to tamper with digital evidence. It's a modern equivalent of Tutankhamun's
Well,
tomb.
it's better than that.
It's better than
Because
that.
Tutankhamun, he just had gold. He didn't have like a bunch of copper.
Exactly.
Right?
Such extreme precautions are not surprising given the nature of the case.
Ooh.
So they've put this in a place that even if you were to have an electromagnetic pulse
yeah.
bomb, it won't affect the.
That's if
the,
they haven't done
evidence.
that already, is what I'm
I'm
saying.
sure that they've
It's
tried 3 or 4 times.
11:45.
Thank you, Zarvox.
Thank you, Zarvox. And don't interrupt us. They're all
Yeah.
getting an EMP on you right now. Okay, so, but
This is bizarre.
But do you realize that this is like almost a great movie? Like if you have something where
this would make a great movie.
the evidence is so important that, and it's on a hard drive, that if you could in some way, I remember I'm trying to remember what movie it was where they basically had installed a fake Coke machine.
Oh, I remember seeing. Yeah.
And it was basically it was a giant capacitor thing that would sit, and it said out of service, but it was plugged into the wall in like the CI, whatever the deal was, that it was going to sit there until the capacitor was so loaded and would discharge a huge electromagnetic pulse, and it would wipe out all of the computers. And that's what we're talking about here. And I'm going to say that would be within the capabilities of a lot of people.
There's a lot of people that
If people were,
that.
especially if you were afraid that maybe this could affect your chances of
Re-election?
or I was going to say incarceration, but take your pick. Wow,
Incarceration.
reincarceration.
Reincarnation as president.
Okay, so let's move on to some fun stuff because
Okay,
Robert,
Einstein letter.
did you bring your wallet with you today?
Yes. Why?
I have my credit card and I have this next link is so cool. This is a link to the RR auction. This is a bid site. This is going on right now.
As we speak,
Yeah, and this is a.
Okay.
It says this is a.
this is an Albert Einstein autographed letter signed with E is equal to MC squared, October 26, 1964.
Now they're estimating that.
Excuse me, 1946.
Yeah,
Pardon me.
and what they're expecting. And we have to log in to place a bid, and I brought my wallet, and if
Estimated
you have yours,
400,000. I don't think between the two of us that we are going to come up with that.
you sure?
I could come up with 4.
4 times. All right, anyway, but this is really a fascinating thing because this is literally one of the few. I think there may be a little video.
I think I have a coupon.
Okay, but there's a whole. They're basically auctioning this off, and I think somewhere else there may be a thing. But if you click on it, if you
right.
see over to the left where it
Yes.
says mouse over to zoom, click to enlarge.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there it is. You found it.
Yeah.
Now that's the video, right?
Okay, I will turn that off. Sorry.
Well, I mean,
Yes,
the thing is, if
mouse
you actually
over to
watch,
zoom.
if you watch the video, it does. It just mostly has cool music, and
Wait
then
a minute, it's in German.
Yeah.
Oh well, I can't read German.
You're allowed to read German. I'll let you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, listen, I will translate for you, Robert.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Because I read the English part.
Ich eine Hamburger. What?
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, it goes on and it talks. Oh, here's where you can click to show or hide the video. Now, the video is cool, but the important thing was this is a letter to another scientist, Ludwig Silberstein,
Ludwig.
who was asking a question about. It says here, here's where it says the translator. Your question can be answered from the E equals MC squared formula.
Oh well, if it's translated, then that's okay.
Well,
All right, okay.
and it says, he says, without any real study, it says, and here's what Einstein's explanation of his question was. If E is the energy of your system consisting of two masses, E sub zero, and the energy of the masses when they approach infinite distance, it says, well, they'll E sub zero minus the E, which divided by the speed of light will give you the answer. And his whole point to the scientist was, hey, look, dude, just look at this formula.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do anything hard except, plug in your stuff. But this is cool because if you do get to watch the video, or even if you kind of use that magnification thing to scroll through it, it's cool. It's got an embossed letter thing that's, Einstein's personal thing up in the left-hand corner.
That's really cool.
And then it has all this, and then it has a cool thing where the guy received it and then marked with just a pencil that I got it and read it. But anyway, it's one of the only documents where his actual formula is mentioned.
That's really cool.
In a letter, and this is in his own handwriting. So,
well, that needs to be somewhere.
Well, listen, if
important.
Libby goes out for lunch and you're able to, shake loose your credit card,
okay.
if you look at the top,
I've got $4 and a small coupon.
All right. Well,
but
listen.
I don't know if that's going to. I get me this.
Okay, and it says that it's right now. So far, there have been 8 bids, and that you have until May 20th.
Okay.
So that means if you've
I've got 4.5 more days.
You can maybe sell something off. It says the bid right now is at $48,721. So it's well short of the projected maybe $400,000. Yeah. But you know how it is. It's like on eBay. And at the end,
everything goes to the end and then it explodes.
But that is so cool.
That is awesome.
That sounds like an Einstein letter. Now, we've already talked about the Colon Pipeline, so we're going to skip over. I'm sorry, the Colonial.
And everything that comes out of it.
All right. So this is a cool story because when I went to load this story, I knew that last week we talked about Zhurong, China's, the god of fire in China, that was going to be it was going to be landing soon. So last night when I clicked on, I literally got on 18 minutes after it landed, and it's so the Zhurong Mars rover. It says now sits safely in Utopia Planitia, which means the plains of Utopia. Well, that's a better place to be than
that certainly is.
Yeah. Isn't this cool?
Yeah.
A story's from Helsinki, so you don't even have to trust the Chinese on it. It's a bunch of tall blonde people. So I guess
so they're obviously going to say the truth. Yes, obviously.
So the cool thing is the part that I thought that was neat was the how it actually entered. It says after 3 months of preparation in orbit and 9 minutes after entry into the atmosphere. So it entered the atmosphere, thin as it may be, way up high. It said the entry, descent, and landing sequence were carried off successfully. And then the cool thing was they had the final step was a final hazard avoidance hover phase.
That's cool.
And what it did then, it was seriously like scanning looking for a safe place. Now, if you scroll down, Robert, there's a picture of somebody.
High resolution camera image.
Isn't this a strange? When I'm looking at this image, I was trying to figure out what
are these little squiggles?
Yeah, that's
you know what I bet those are? I bet those are tracks from windstorms.
It must be because when I looked at it at first, I thought
I bet that's what those are.
I thought there was something. This looks
worms.
like they found life on Mars. Here it is. It's crawling.
Now, explain to me how China can soft land a vehicle on Mars and yet cannot deorbit a launch craft.
Well,
what is up with that?
Well, I think it's about saving money.
I think it's about money too.
Well, and again, I don't want to put too fine a point on that last story, but when I read the story, the part that I didn't understand until I read the story was that they were sending up another piece of their space station.
Okay.
And they didn't care about where, I'm thinking,
where it came down.
What's your big hurry putting up this space station?
And yet you guys have the technology to be able to soft land on Mars. There's only two groups of people that have ever done that.
Yeah.
The United States and China now.
Well, and the other thing, this made me think of two things. One, China is in some rush to build a space station or something, in orbit. Right. And I kept thinking that it reminded me of what was the James Bond GoldenEye or something. I'm going, you guys are in a real hurry to put this
out.
Yeah,
what's up with that?
And then the other one was, as soon as I saw where this rover had landed, they talk about how, if you scroll down in the story somewhere, that JPL they were using all of their the stuff that we have on the planet, the Mars, the rover, and other things, just to see if they could actually hear or detect the vibrations of the thing entering and landing. Then I kept thinking about that great cable a TV series where they had robot wars, And I'm just thinking, okay, so how far apart are these things? And
Yeah, can they get together, and who would win?
what are they armed with? Now,
Sledgehammers.
the nice thing is that they do,
Buzzsaws.
at least the folks from Helsinki are pretty nice. They talk about the fact that this will mean there's much better data now coming from various people.
Various places,
And
too.
basically the way they put it was that this is like cooperation. And,
I love it.
it sounded like to me it sounded like something issued from Starfleet or something, like we're all cooperating and it's all going to be good. Robert, this next story, again, we're on the radiosciencenews.org launchpad of science. If you weren't sure where we're getting all this stuff.
Solar wind?
So click onto that site and you'll have all these stories at your fingertips. When I saw the solar wind story, it said, well, read what it says. Does it sound crazy when you see
Solar
this?
wind from the center of the Earth.
Now, I
Now,
thought-
the only way that could happen is if you're talking about the magnetic field, because that's
Well,
essentially it, right?
I was surprised. I was thinking, well, this was a new Disney thing with.
Have concluded that the particles made their way into overlying rock mantle over millions of years. The scientists found solar noble gases in an iron nickel meteorite they studied. Because of their chemical composition, some meteorites are often used as natural models for the Earth's magnetic core.
Yeah, so when they said that, I'm trying to think they're linking a bunch of things together because it sounds like what they're saying is that the meteorites are the same as the core material.
Okay,
And
makes
but that's
sense.
all. But that's kind of all they're saying in terms. And then they're basically talking about being able to find. I mean, this was really cool that the overlying rock mantle. Well, I mean, I guess they're saying that actually this stuff may have, over the millions of years, the billions of years, that some of this stuff that would have been found in these meteors is now stuff that would have fallen onto the Earth, and then over the 4.5 billion years, that it's literally made its way, into the to this interior of the Earth. But the cool
That's
part,
really cool.
Yeah, the cool part is that that you could literally, it says, using a noble gas mass spectrometer to determine that the samples from the meteor contain noble gases where isotopic ratios of helium and neon are typical for the solar wind. So they're
makes
making
perfect sense.
a big long case, and again, you have to think we're talking about a long time period.
Yes.
That the solar wind impinging upon surfaces of planets or stuff that's floating around or asteroids is actually embedded itself in these things.
Yes.
And then I guess the mechanism is that they're looking at the mechanism of this stuff eventually, crashing into planets and over the billions of years building up. This is really cool, though.
That's very cool. Wow, I would would never have thought that solar wind composition would actually make it into the core of a world.
Yeah.
But seeing this, I could say, okay, that makes sense now. But I don't think I would have ever come
What an interesting
to
mechanism.
that conclusion.
It talks about the findings appear to confirm the assumption that the solar noble gases in the mantle plumes originate in the planet's core.
Yeah.
And hence signify solar wind particles. This is kind of like, and therefore solar wind from the center of the Earth.
Yeah, solar wind from the center of the Earth.
I'm just thinking there's going to be a big, tall Swedish guy with a Gertrude, his goose, Disney's new movie. Solar wind from the center of the Earth. Now, here's the story on Neuralink. We're just going to touch upon this. How are we doing time-wise? We're
We've
getting so
got about
close.
1 minute until I turn on the music. Breakthrough technology for the brain. Understanding the brain, interfacing with the brain, engineering with the brain. Now, I saw recently there was some kind of an ape playing
The
Pong.
macaque. That was the macaque.
The macaque.
And that was the
Okay.
thing where, and you know what? And instead of just clicking on this, I'm just going to say we'll talk about the other cell death and nanocrystal next week because I'm just coming up on 5818.
Yeah.
Yes. When I saw this, all I could think about was a good friend of ours, Cecil Gwynn.
Yes.
Now, what Elon Musk is doing, and there's a bunch of research on this, and part of what he's looking at is to help, say, people who are paraplegic.
Which is a great idea.
What they have done is they're now getting smaller and smaller electrodes, and like an electrode can not only be in your sensory part, but also in your part that moves the muscles.
Yeah.
So they've gotten to the point where by having certain little implanted electrodes. If there's pressure on a sensory thing, you can feel it as a physical pressure, as if you were, pressing on something. And consequently, if you activate certain, parts of your brain that are the motor, corresponding things, once they've identified, like, say like your bicep,
Yeah.
they know where that is, and it's possible, as with the macaques, by, a period of training and stuff like that, you can learn to activate with your brain doing nothing else but certain, internal things to create motion.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of where this company Neuralink is going, and basically the biggest thing is to help people who are in dire. I just remember that your good friend Cecil Gwynn, who was in crazy stuff at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base,
way back when.
his big thing was to help pilots fly with their mind. And that
Yeah.
was like 1950. Well, it's 2021, and if you want to hear more, come back next week, 11 till 12 a.m. Saturday morning.